Hi there, everyone, and welcome to the Homespun Wife. My name is Sherry. I'm so glad that you are joining me for this video today. I would be remiss if I didn't take just a moment and thank all of my new subscribers for coming along to my channel. I sure do appreciate you. You are a blessing to me. And I'm also grateful for my longtime supporters and encouragers that have been with me on this channel. I appreciate you all for the time that you spend watching my videos. I love connecting with you in messages, in the comments, and on emails. Thank you so much for all the ways that you engage with me in the videos. Now, for today, we're going to be talking about 7 types of rest that every person needs in their life. Rest is very important. I know we live in a society where our value tends to be wrapped up in all that we can accomplish and all that we can do in a 24-hour day. Hey, I need to take care of the kids. I need to take care of the house. I need to take care of the yard. I need to, go to my job. I need to do a good job there, get my work done. I need to do, pay my bills. I need to make sure that I'm, working for my church. I need to make sure that I'm involved in my community and my town. I need to make sure that I've got my volunteerism going, that I'm doing, whether it's Girl Scouts or whatever type activity that you're involved in as a volunteer or helping. It's very easy to get all of our worth wrapped up in all that we can accomplish. Before we know it, we are going all the time and we're never taking a moment to rest. And this is something that I don't believe pleases God. I know that I have been in that situation in my own life, and it causes not only a lot of distress, like emotionally, but it also can cause physical problems in your life too, like illness. Now, many of you know that my husband and I have been retired now for about 1 year. We're come up on our first anniversary. We can't believe that it's been a year, and we've had more rest this year than we've had in our entire lives. And it's been something we've had to get used to. And we've done some talking about rest. And it was over this year that I began to read some things online, look up some things about rest and what God has to say about rest. And so I made some notes. I've used a couple of websites to compile some notes, and then I've added to it some of my own thoughts. And so that is what I'm going to be going over with you today. Now, many of you know Elisabeth Elliot, that wonderful missionary and writer and speaker. She has a quote that I love, and I'm going to be referring to the notes as I speak to you now. She said, "Rest is a weapon given to us by God. The enemy hates it because he wants us to be stressed and occupied. He wants us to constantly be on the go, and that's how he trips us up. And yet God has commanded us to take rest, and he's led us by example in that rest. And it is a weapon that God gives us. So by faith and obedience, we should take time to rest." Now, I have thought about 7 types of rest that I want to share with you. Some of them overlap each other, and so we may be saying similar things about some of these types of rest. But I want you to consider each one if you want to jot down these 7 areas and pray about them for yourself and about how God would have you to rest in your life. When you are going through a difficult time, you may find that rest is tough. You can't sleep. You can't sit down. You're anxious. Well, praying and focusing on rest and how God has led us by example to rest might actually be important for your spiritual life and allow you to see rest in a new way. And that's why I wanted to talk about these 7 things today. The first one, as you probably know, is the rest that we are always thinking about, and that's the physical kind of rest. When God created the earth, he led us by example in saying that on this last day, there will be rest, and you should rest. From his work, God rested. Did he need to rest? No. He has all strength. He's all powerful. He didn't need that rest. But what he was doing it for was to show you and me that we need physical rest. When the 10 Commandments were given, one of those said that, hey, the Sabbath day is holy. It is a day of rest. And how often we've given up that day of rest to get everything else done before the work week starts. And we really have to pray and say, God, show me how to reverence that day as a true day of rest. Even in the New Testament, we see that Jesus often himself took periods of time to rest, and he made it important for the disciples. In Mark 6:31, he told his disciples, look, come away and get some rest. And it is vitally important that we do it. Well, how can we do it if we have a full schedule, we're on the go all the time? Perhaps you have young children, you feel like you never get a moment. One of the things I can tell you that will help you is putting it on your day planner or your calendar. I know that sounds a little bit unusual, but take that day planner out, and if it's about once a day, especially if you're maybe a homemaker, you're home during the day with little children, set aside what we used to call is quiet time. During the quiet time, it was after lunch every day. My children, depending on how old they are, they had to lay down for a little while in their beds. They did not have to sleep. This was not sleep time. If they wanted to nap and they were little, they would nap. But it was called quiet time. And in that quiet time, I was trying to do a couple of things. I was trying to teach them to regulate their nervous systems by resting and cutting out periods of time in the day for rest. Secondly, I wanted them to establish a quiet time where they could pray and think about God. And that would develop in them the desire to have a daily quiet time all through the years as they got older. And and also their quiet time became my quiet time. It allowed me to reset my day. I was able to wash up those few lunch dishes, maybe throw the clothes over in the dryer, sweep or something very quickly. And then it gave me another, maybe 30 minutes that I could just sit still, read, pray, listen to music or something like that. During those times, the children were not allowed to get out of bed. They could have small toys on their bed and they could play with them quietly. They could draw and color. They could read a book. They could play soft music if they wanted it in their room. We would turn that on. But they could not get out of bed. They couldn't do talking with other people. They actually had to have quiet time of rest. It would be great if all of us could still incorporate a moment like that in our days. And so perhaps if you get a lunch break from work, you might say, I get 30 minutes. I'm going to take 20 minutes to eat. And the last 10 minutes, I'm actually just going to close my eyes, set my alarm, and I'm just going to take a moment to physically rest. Perhaps you could do that after you have your meal in the evening or just before you prepare a meal. When you get home from work, just have everyone go in their rooms for a little while. It doesn't have to be a huge long period of time. If it's 15, 20 minutes, and just reset by physically resting yourself for a little while. Find a way and pray and ask God to show you a way that you can get more physical rest in your days. The second way that you can rest is mental rest. We are seeing that people are frazzled now. They are anxious and covered with all kinds of stressors in their lives. They're constantly being mentally taxed by everything going on. And these all some of these, like I say, these areas of rest feed into one another. You're going to notice that as we go through the list, that many of them overlap because it's very difficult for your mind not to affect your body. When your mind gets stressed out, your body begins to get sick and break down. When the body breaks down, the mind often struggles. And so a lot of these overlap. But mental rest involves taking a break from being cognitively overloaded. So this might mean putting all of your stuff down. Put the newspaper down. Put all of your struggles to the side. You can worry about them when you're done, and just allowing your mind to shut off. Sometimes it helps when people are absolutely, totally quiet, or when they meditate, hum, or play music, very gentle music, and close their eyes. It will allow them to mentally rest for just a little while. Letting your mind have time to let go of everything that it's constantly worrying about, that it's flooded with, and we're seeing it all the time. We're, everywhere we look, we're being overloaded. Let that go and meditate. Listen to music or just be totally silent. Close your eyes and allow yourself to mentally rest. Try not to think. Let that cognitive overload drift away for a little while. It will help you in your overall, in your health, and not only mentally, but physically. And it will help you to have a more balanced life when you do that. The next kind of rest that we can experience is emotional rest. And this means taking a break from some of the emotional labors that you feel by setting some boundaries around yourself. Everyone needs time to process their feelings, and many times we don't take a moment to think about that. So many of us have high demands on our emotions, whether we're raising children or teenagers, taking care of parents or spouses, constantly feeling like someone is needing us. That can weigh on you emotionally. You just feel like you almost can't keep going. And you can break down like that. It can cause a breakdown. So set some boundaries around your life. I like to call this type of rest heart care. Taking care of your heart by allowing yourself to have some boundaries there. It also can involve like the physical rest, taking time to totally detach from people that might need you. Yes, it's very hard to do for certain situations that you might find yourself in. You're gonna hear my husband, he's outside, he's cutting grass right now, so that's why I'm filming this video for you guys. If you hear a noise, that's what it is. But just being able to say, emotionally, I need to care for myself right now. Set those boundaries in your life where you can have a moment for yourself, that you're not constantly being needed, if it's at all possible. Even if it's not something you can do every day because you're a caregiver. I mean, that's hard, but find a way. If it's to step outside and take a walk, and to not feel that pressure constantly on you emotionally is so important. Another type of rest is social rest. So what is social rest? This means being able, as we've talked about, to spend time alone, to recharge yourself, to maybe spend time with just one or two people who really encourage and uplift you. That's social rest. If you find that you're constantly being bombarded on social media, you're getting distracted by all the things you see and people writing to you, or people constantly, messaging you with different things, and your social media life is huge, and then out in the real world, it's also, you constantly are going and doing things with groups. You might want a day just to pull back and say, I'm not going to go eat today. I'm just going to be home, and I'm going to socially rest. I'm going to turn off social media. I'm just going to take a day or two, maybe one day a month, 2 days a month, that I can disconnect from all of that social stuff and have a day of rest. How important that is to do. And like I say, in these other instances, it's not always easy, depending on the circumstances that you are in. You also can choose just like one or two people to be around for that period of time. People who are positive, people who are encouraging, who will allow you to be lifted up and edified by spending time with them. That can allow you to have the social rest you need. Then there is sensory rest. Do we have any viewers out there who have like sensory processing disorders? I had a grandchild that had an issue with that when he was real small. Any kind of overload of sensory just made him very, very anxious. Lights flashing, sounds, loud sounds like concerts and noise. It might be being in a mall, being even in churches now sometimes, where it's loud and lights are going off and there's maybe a live band and there's people all around and there's just all kinds of sensory around you. And what you really are needing to do is just like withdraw. And I think in each one of these that we've talked about, you will notice that we are trying to get alone. We're trying to set boundaries. We're trying to be quiet. We're trying to, for the most part, pull away and meditate. And certainly sensory overload is something that goes on all around us. I'm more aware of it now in my life, and try to avoid areas where there's a lot of sensory things going on. Seems like you might be able to handle that when you're younger. I don't know. But certainly taking a break from the overstimulation of loud noises and lights and sounds and everything that's tugging and pulling at you. Take a break from that. Step back. Allow yourself to be still in a quiet, dark place and see if that doesn't help you to have a new period of rest in your life that is both healing and balancing for you. And then we're going to talk, now the next two that we're going to talk about is going to be not things that we're trying to stay away from, but things that we are trying to actually incorporate into our life that will bring us rest. One of these is creative rest. Creativity is something that, believe it or not, can bring rest to most people. We were created to be creative. God himself was a creator. He was the master creator. He made it all. And he gave us the ability to also create. And it has been shown that people who do things like paint, draw, write, build, sing, play music, these activities actually enhance our well-being. They bring peace, they lower our heart rate, or they lower our blood pressure. They make us smile, physically smile, and make us happy. And so taking on some small creative projects might be a really good way for you just to let go and find rest, to get lost in something that is just your freedom coming out anew, whether it's, like I say, painting, drawing, or jigsaw puzzles, any type of thing like that. I know that when my children were small, I really loved to sing in the choir at church. That was like my one main activity that I did when all of my children were small, because they were all small together. We had 4 children in 5 years, so it was a lot. And I would look so forward to choir practice every week, because that was my hour to go to be able to sing. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the fellowship with other adults, because I was at home a lot. I really didn't always get that. And that was something my husband tried to make a priority for me. He was like, I never want you to miss choir practice, because I know that you're always in demand here at home. But that's one time that you get to sort of be creative and do something you enjoy. So think about a creative thing. Is it like sewing and knitting? Any of those things that you can do with your own hands might help you to relax and rest and use the skills that God has given you. That's one way that you can find balance and rest. And then lastly, of course, is spiritual rest. So what does that mean? It means incorporating spiritual things into your life on a daily basis that can help you to be well-rounded, that will help you to be all that God intended for you to be. This might involve something like having and establishing a quiet time. One of the great things about scripture writing was that it was something I did every single day. I had a time set aside to do that, and I didn't miss. I did it every day. If I had to miss it at that moment, I would push it to a little bit later in the day. Let's say somebody was sick or something was going on. But I never went to sleep at night until my scripture writing was done, because I wanted to do it so much, and it brought me joy and peace, and it taught me so much about the nature of God, and I could feel his presence with me. That was my time of spiritual rest. Perhaps you're a scripture writer or some type of a Christian journaler, and you are able in that moment to experience spiritual rest. When you're connecting with the Lord, you're connecting with his word. Do you know that you can connect to a deeper sense of your own purpose? God designed you with the purpose, and you need to find out what that purpose is. And it may not seem like a big thing to you at the moment, but someone out there can benefit from your testimony. Being able to pull away and take care of yourself and your spiritual life is so important. And to me, this is probably the number one way that people need to rest. They need to pull away and take time for the Lord, to make him number one in their lives, because we know that when we put him first, everything else will fall into place. Well, friends, there you go. There's the 7 areas of rest. We have physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest, social rest, sensory rest, creative rest, and spiritual rest. If you find that you are struggling in an area where you are unable to find peace in your life, and I'm not talking about constant peace, but I'm talking about if you're feeling uneasy all the time, you're feeling anxious, you're having a lot of negative thoughts, then I would just really urge you to seek out a professional therapist or counselor. You might start at a church nearby. If you don't have a church of your own, you can call and talk to a staff person at a local church and tell them that you are in need of a counselor. You would like a Christian counselor, and they might be able to connect you with someone there in their church or with someone in your community that offers some therapy sessions for you. Be sure to take care of yourself because that's what God longs for you to do. He wants you to be fit and ready to be useful for His kingdom. But it's so important that we look at our own lives and that we value rest because, as Elizabeth Elliot said, rest is a weapon given to us by God. He has commanded us to rest and to make moments where we can be still and quiet before Him. When we do that, then we will find true joy in our lives. Friends, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, in future videos, I have a couple of ideas. One thing that happened to me this week is one of my subscribers, who also is a sweet friend, sent me a gift, and I want to share with you what she made for me. She used her creative gifts to make something for me. I want to show that to you. I can't wait. I love it. And I have two ideas for videos that I would really like to do coming up. One, I would like to talk about a scripture writing reset. A scripture writing reset, what is that? Well, that is like if after you take a break from scripture writing for a little while, we talked about that in a recent video, how do we reset and get prepared to come back to scripture writing? I want to do a video about that. I also took the advice or recommendation of a subscriber and would like to do a video on how do you handle it? How do you move forward when your children have broken your heart? That will be one that might be tough to do, but I want to plow through and do that because I have a lot to say about that subject on a personal level. And I would just like to tell you how God has helped me in my life to come through. And He has brought victory to me in small ways and big ways too, even though my situation is not fully resolved with my child. So I want to be able to share with you how you can move forward too with God's plan for you. When your children break your heart, don't do things that you'd like for them to do. How can you overcome that and find victory in that? Friends, thank you so much. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye-bye, everyone.